So a couple of days ago, I got a text from my brother about an iMac computer that the place he works at no longer wants. And on top of that, they were just giving it away. So I thought, well, why not? And so I'd be interested in having a look at it. On the outside, it looks like a standard Mac, not the oddball designs of the early to mid 2000s. But yet this Mac was made in early 2008. Compare that to a 2019 iMac, and the design is almost identical, for better or for worse. Which is interesting to me, as either it means Apple's design for the iMac line is so good they haven't needed to revamp it, or it would cost them too much to redesign, so they couldn't be bothered. You can decide that for yourself. So what other than metal is there on the outside? Well, there is a built-in decent webcam on top of the display. Beneath the display is the glossy black Apple logo, which I think looks pretty cool. And on the back, there are two ports which include the headphone jack, remember when that was a thing? 3 USB ports, Firewire ports, which are used like USB before USB came to standard, a twisted pair Ethernet port, and 2 other ports I'm unfamiliar with. If you know what they are, feel free to tell everyone down below. I could have just googled it, but eh. Then we have a bigger Apple logo, and yes, the trash in a reflection was a coincidence, and not any kind of symbolism in any way, shape or form. At least that's what I'm telling you anyway. Then we have the power port, standard stuff, and finally a DVD drive, which is kind of refreshing to see these days. Now onto the specs and software. The Mac is running macOS 10 El Capitan, I'm sure I've butchered that, and boasts an Intel Core 2 Duo clocked at 2.66 GHz, with 3 gigs of 800 MHz DDR2 RAM, dual channel by the way, an ATI, now part of AMD, Radeon HD 2600 Pro graphics card with 256 MB of RAM. I was actually surprised to see a GPU there, honestly. And an almost 1080p display, which was fairly impressive at the time, and a 320 gig hard drive. If you're still with us, here's just what it means in real world performance. When on the desktop, it seems to be locked to 60 frames per second all the time, besides, opening and closing apps. But using File Explorer, listening to music, that kind of stuff, is effortless, as you would expect. Web browsing in Chrome is very usable in my testing. Scrolling down this particular Apple webpage, this is what in the business we call foreshadowing. I didn't think they was quite 60 Hz, but text is plenty crisp enough and the scrolling looks significantly better than in the footage here. If you're wondering what video playback is like on YouTube, then the highest you can go with stable frame pacing is about 720p. 1080p is doable, but expect significant frame drops even at 30 FPS or below. I think the speakers sound really good as well though. Finally, this is something that I probably should have put at the beginning, but better late than never I guess. The Cinebench score was 260, which considering the age of the machine is still a respectable score in my opinion. As you compare this up with something like a 750 Ti, if that was possible, then it would actually be a solid budget productivity or even gaming machine. So that's the video. I would like to make a follow-up to this video to talk specifically gaming performance. So if you'd like to see that, or if there's anything else you'd like to add, leave a comment below. With that said, you know the rest. Thanks for watching.